recording. Welcome, everyone. It's the Mike Tech Show, show number 911. Tonight, I'm going to talk about, again, the Microsoft local account. And I'm going to tell you why that's so important to me for a particular client that we're replacing all the systems. So I got that story. And then that's going to lead into, I now have a true Windows 11 test system. I got to talk about how I stumbled onto that. So we're going to talk about tweaks for that. Then stories from the trenches. Got 4 listener emails. Let's get started. So the first thing, I have a client that has 2 servers that are just workgroup servers. They never set up Active Directory. I've never had a chance to fully get Active Directory going. That's going to change, I know, towards the end of the summer. So it's very critical that we set the password of the person that's logging into their workstation. The password has to match the account on both those servers. One's a file server. Another one is the ERP system that they use for manufacturing. So we have no choice. So that's why I was always fascinated with the tips, like that a@a.com. Microsoft got rid of that. Can't use that anymore. The fix that I talked about a couple weeks ago no longer works. There's no fix, at least that I know, of the latest, greatest shipping version of Windows 11. You can't get around it. So here's what I did. I created an MTS consulting test account on Gmail and now then set it up on Microsoft. We don't have anything, no licenses or didn't purchase anything. It's just our free test account because we got to log in as that when we start a Windows 11 system in order to get to the point where now I can create a local account. I can't have that Microsoft account because the password would never match. If I could create a single sign-on and I had Active Directory, yes, that is the ultimate answer. But I can't do that for this client. And there are still 30 more systems we're going to be upgrading to Windows 11 because they had a lot of older systems. So over the next year, they're getting 4 systems a month, and I literally spent Wednesday hooking a couple up, and I'm smiling and laughing because my oldest son who works for me is on vacation this week, and so, I got some great stories from the trenches because of that, and I've been just unbelievably busy this week, and I've just working my butt off. And it's tough when you're not in the shape that you need to be when you're crawling under desks and looking for where to plug into the network. And there are a lot of little challenges. But the Windows 11 is frustrating. I mean, now we got it where, okay, we log into the test account. If there is something new, a new trick, and I can't reinstall Windows 11, so I'm not going to put the media in. This is just an Optiplex being delivered from Dell that I need to start and get a local account on the system. So that's my frustration. So no more bypass options, it looks like. And shame on Microsoft for just not giving us, a little flexibility there. And look, I have a real reason for my client. All right. Finally have a Windows test system, a Dell Optiplex that a client gave to us to recycle. And we have a couple. And the one when I got back from Florida, sitting exactly where I'm at now, the system behind me, which is all covered up, that's just a big monitor back there. But I had a little Lenovo system that died. And that died before I got back to PA. So I like to have a test system that I literally can swivel my chair around and start doing something. So I took one of those recycled systems because it was not bad. It was a Dell Optiplex 5060. Had a 256 gig NVMe. Put 16 gigs of RAM in it. Now, nice Windows 10 box. And I set this up last week, and one night turned around and a message popped up. Your system qualifies for Windows 11. Would you like to install it now? And it just blew me away. And I was like, yes, I want it. And so I let it go through the upgrade process to Windows 11. And now I've been challenged with tweaking and playing and doing everything I could with it. And that is what is leading up to what I'm going to talk about now. So what is the CPU? You know what? We're going to look at that. I am going to remote in, and let's do that. So right now I want to get ready, and let's change my input for the display capture. There we go. Okay. And now what I want to do is move my notes over to the other monitor. And what you're looking at is my Windows 11 system. So let's see what the CPU is. That's a great question. And let's go System. And I think About, right? Okay. So I know the product ID and device ID I shouldn't be showing, but here it is. Anyway, it's a Core i5 8500 CPU. So one of the first things that I've been doing anytime I see Windows 11, and I hate it, it's the shell. When you right-click on a file or anything, what do you see? So if we're opening up let's go to my downloads, and we're going to talk about Power Toys. What we're going to do is I'm going to right-click, and if you notice, look at my menu. It is not the Windows 11 shell. So one of the first things I do is change it to this menu, and since I've already changed it, here is the tool that I'm recommending, and it's the WinAereo Tweaker, and that's going to be the first link in the show notes. And if you take a look, one of the first options for the Windows 11 tweak is Classic Full Context Menu, and I have that enabled. Then you have Classic Taskbar, Disable Background Apps, Disable Copilot. I'm not disabling Copilot. I have to embrace it. I haven't done that yet. Enable the ribbon, enable stickers for desktop background, and remove Windows Spotlight desktop icon. There are many other little things, and I'm going to scroll down, and you can see it on my desk already. Get the classic apps. I have to have the original Windows Photo Viewer. That's just me. I also need the classic notepad. So I hate the notepad from Windows 11. So there's a few things I don't like, and I wanted to take care of that right away. I wanted to absolutely do that. Now, something that I noticed, and I went to a site, as I was setting up my browsers, I was seeing just, a tremendous amount of ads. And so I wanted to try some of the new ad blockers that were being rated #1. And now I question a couple sites as to their rating, because I tried one, and boy, I forget the name too. I tried one, and all it did was annoy me every time I opened the browser to buy it. And I mean, I couldn't open the browser without it, and there was no place in the browser that had that. I had to remove that extension, and I went to my Time True Tested Ad Block Plus. That's what I use, and I just had to do it. I want to know, and that's why I have a question here. I want to know, what ad blocker do you find to be the best? I still went back to Ad Blocker Plus because I think the first two on the list both did that. Ad blocker is the least annoying of what I've seen. So let me know, MikeTechShow@gmail.com. Let's see. Now, what's nice is, look, I can remote in, demonstrate tips, tricks. I'm making a startup of which utilities and tweaks we're going to prepare for our clients. Now, we have, of course, some standard ones. And what I want to do is right now do a quick, if you take a look, we'll go taskbar settings. And one of the things I do is I turn off the Copilot preview, the task view, and widgets. One of the things I do now is I go back and take a look at taskbar behaviors. And one of the things you can do for the taskbar alignment is go from left to center. I don't like it in the center, and a lot of clients dislike that. They're so used to it to be on the left. So one of the things we do anytime we touch a Windows 11 new setup, we make that left. So I want to put together that a classic Windows 11 startup tweaks. And that would be, send me your tweaking utilities, email me what they are. And I'm going to ask Taz. Taz, can you email me that bypass? He put in the chat, the bypass 11 sign in. And here's the question. Is that the latest, greatest? How old is that YouTube video? And that's something I'm seeing now. I'm seeing tweaks for Windows 11 that those options aren't there. They're changing them. This is a ever changing what they do with Windows 11, and they just keep doing it. And it's really a pain. If you Google and try to look up some of these things, they're not current. So just beware. I'm going to check that out. If you can email me the link. I really appreciate if I'll wait a few weeks about putting together the ultimate tweak list, and I will share that with you because we're trying to build that for our clients. And, just here's a quick tweak, and there's not going to be a show note for this. Do you know you still have MS Config? And now I don't know, CUNFIG. MS Config is still there. Now, I don't know if this helps a lot, but something I've been doing because I seen, yes, Tim, StarDoc programs, yes, but you got to pay for them. And we want this to be free. When do you think sneak in Windows recall again? I don't understand. I don't understand your question. Go to MS Config, go to boot, then go advanced options. And for the number of processors, this is unchecked and the default is 1. Go down and check the maximum amount of processors. And when you're done this and click OK, you'll have to reboot. And it looks like that you will be able to, take advantage of multiple processors. It's interesting. The latest, greatest Core i7 that I just set up, it listed the number of processors as 28, which was kind of fascinating. So anyway, I know the chat, I know you're talking, and it's tough for me to read while I'm doing the show. You keep at it and keep putting the stuff in. But if it's relating to the show, to me, please take a moment and send me an email with the link. I really appreciate that. Let me click cancel here. As I go on, and I will put together more tips and tricks. I want to show you Power Toys because let's close up Aereo. There's a lot of things that you can explore. in Aereo. Power Toys is by Microsoft. That's another link in tonight's show notes. There are some pretty cool things here. I've talked about this in the past, and I thought, you know what? For Windows 11, they've adapted Power Toys. So you got image resizer, hosts file editor. You got, file locksmith. So you can enable a file lock, which is cool. File Explorer add-ins. I haven't even begun to play with these yet. Environment variables, crop and lock. Awake. I like the color palette one. There's a color picker where you can enable that. And let's see, what is that? Pound Shift C. Activation behavior. Pick a color and open the editor. I'm not going to demonstrate all of these, but let's go back to the dashboard. You have lots and lots of little utilities, and this is free. Really, really recommend some of these, tweaking programs to help you along. There's even like getting back to WinAreo, the just being able to download the classic notepad and not have to search and go through anything. There's a lot of little programs like that I think it's worth looking at. So check that out and let me know your tweaks so I can have that list, and I'll do a dedicated tweak show where here we're only, going over a little taste of this. So let's get back to, I have stories from the trenches and what, all right. So I was talking about this before the show started, and it's just Monday, I get a call from an insurance agent client, and she tells me they had painters in over the weekend to paint, and they told them, the painters promised they wouldn't touch anything. And this is just a peer-to-peer network where they got a peer server and a couple, they got 3 workstations and a multifunction printer for scanning. And they said they wouldn't touch anything. And okay, they left on Friday. Monday, nothing worked. They couldn't get to the internet. They couldn't get on anything. They couldn't access the server because the painters touched everything. So that's it. You can't believe anybody anymore. So I am trying to we're FaceTiming, and I'm trying to walk them through this, and it's just not happening. So I'm like, what? How bad could it be that, and I'm looking at everything, and I'm like, I said, okay, look, I got to catch up on a few things, and then let me get dressed and head out there, because it's a long drive. It's a 45-minute drive to get to the client. I get there, and I have with me some long cables because I suspect it. A cable that is run from one side of the office to the other that was installed not working. So I got to the router and found that the surge strip, I don't know what they did to it, but it no longer was working. So that's why they couldn't get to the internet. And I'm like, okay. And then they couldn't get to the server because this cable, I don't know what they did to it, but it's no longer testing and it's no longer working. So now I'm running a cable across the floor trying to get it out of the way. Luckily, there's not a lot of people working there. We got plans for this where it's going to be all changed on Tuesday when my son is back and is going to be able to do that. So I get the server up and running by running a cable directly to the switch by the router. The router's now on and they have internet because I replaced the surge strip. The workstations are connecting. There was one cable that goes around a door frame to the receptionist area, and we had to just kind of remount that along the door frame because they pulled that all off because, of course, they're painting. So there was definitely a miscommunication. If you are a contractor and you're doing that, you should examine the office and say, well, we're going to be moving equipment. It is going to be disturbed. And you got to give them a little warning. Hey, we're going to take these down. And anything you take down, put it back or tell them. So this way it would have been planned. And I could have been out there Monday morning already waiting because, hey, they messed things up. And so now we got to fix it. So that was my Monday afternoon. And I was just glad to get everything up and running, but it's not perfect. We're going to relocate the peer server, and we're going to make a few changes to clean it up so they don't need that big wire running now. So now that it's taken out of commission, that wire, we kind of planned out what we're going to be doing. So my son will be doing that Tuesday. When he gets back, I told him, I said, you got to, Monday when you get back, you got to peek at your calendar schedule for the week because I'm filling it right now with all kinds of work. So now let's move on. Printers. I hate printers. Printers are the bane of my existence. I know a lot of you love it. I have had clients with printer problems this week that it's a nightmare. It truly is. And there's so many different printers. My day tomorrow, I'm going to be working remotely to try to resolve not one, not two, not three, 4 printers at the client that they're having different issues with each one. And I'm going to try to do this all remotely. So I can't wait till tomorrow morning. I'll update you on that next week. Onboarded a new bookkeeper client, which I never get good prospects from Facebook for us. I mean, usually the typical Facebook, when someone recommends me on Facebook, the client, they're talking about the potential client, they're talking about their problem. They called me and I give them my rate and they said, rate? You mean you're not free? And I was like, how could I be in business if I was free? And I guess they thought for a second and I was like, well, what would you pay? And they're like, $10. And I'm like, no, we're not a fit. This isn't going to happen. This is, I have a real business. I have, can you imagine that? So I've never had anything really, really good from Facebook, but this was a real business where someone is starting up their own bookkeeping business, and I love it because my son and I were out at their, quote, home office and just made some great recommendations and had them thinking of, what to do for email. They're going to need encryption for the email. So this will be an ongoing story of different services that we add on as they need it, as they roll out their business. So love that. Love being brought in to a new startup. That's exciting. There's always great things that we can knock it out right at the beginning. So they do it right. And then talking about where they intend to go with this and how they're going to expand. So want to put them into, the Business Office 365 where it's going to be easy for us to add more people as they grow. So may they grow a lot. 2 financial advisors, both reconstructing new buildings where we got a lot of work. And I did a walkthrough last week, last Wednesday, did the walkthrough, and it's great. I ordered all the hardware that's needed. We're going to do a half rack, and they did most of the difficult wiring. Their electrician. I'm going to have our wiring guy do some things and do the final testing, and we're going to put the rack in place, the access points, and get everything set up. We're also working with another advisor, literally just blocks away, and we're from this one. And as a matter of fact, the current one for the old building that we're working on, the referral was from him for another financial advisor that he knows. And we actually knew each other. We met a long time ago. And so that made it easier. Now, before I get to the email, and I'm thinking of last week, and I meant to do this at the beginning of the show, Thursday night, and actually I felt this way Wednesday night. I didn't do the show Thursday night because I just wasn't feeling good. And I'm doing a lot better now. I wasn't up to it. I wasn't feeling good. And I guess this is with being 63 and working my butt off. You know, you get tired, and I'm getting wore down, and I really was in no condition to be able to do the show last Thursday. So, and I knew this on Wednesdays. That's why I pulled the trigger to cancel. So, knock wood, let's hope that's passed and I can, keep plugging away and, getting the content out there for you. All right. Emails. We got 4. And let's start with the first one. And why do I not have them all? Okay. This is from Bill. And he sent me a way to uninstall the widget, the uninstall the Windows 11 widgets permanently. And you go to PowerShell and you type C:\users/ your login name, then winget uninstall, and then in quotes, Windows Web Experience Pack. And that's how you uninstall. So thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. And let's see. This is also from Bill, and then I got 2 from Don. SharePoint files. He says, hi, Mike. This is a follow-up to when I was talking about SharePoint. What I do is put them in a free Dropbox account and then send a Dropbox link to the person that they need access to the files. Now, they do have a Dropbox account, but that doesn't go with the way, and this is good information, and I wanted to share that. I mean, you could do that from OneDrive, but I want to do it, and even if when you do it from Dropbox, you have to sign in. I guess that's the only way. I wanted to have a file that they can share that they don't have a Microsoft account, and you're right that they're going to have to use Dropbox, but I was trying to keep it into how they save their files and how everything's managed, and that's SharePoint. As a matter of fact, I'm building out a couple more SharePoint sites that I'm going to have a meeting on Monday with. So I got my plans this weekend to do this, where this is a real estate agent, and it's the different agents, and we're creating areas for them to share information and communicate. So a lot of fun. That should be interesting. So important to learn SharePoint. I think that's really the message. Backing up OneDrive, and this is from Don, and he says, Mike, I heard you say on show 909 or 910 that you back up OneDrive to an external drive with SyncBack Pro. Yes, I do. I do that too. But I have it set up to back up every night. I didn't need it every night because I'm doing a full backup with that I'm also getting it with Magnus Box, and I just felt, hey, let me do the sync back weekly because there's so much that I'm doing that with. So why do I only do it once a week? That's because I have my Magnus Box backing it up, and I just didn't want to hit it too many times. I'm also an Acronis full system backup once a week also. That's my system in Florida and system in Pennsylvania. I have multiple backups. And then up here, because I have the Synology, I'm backing up files to the Synology, and the Synology is being backed up. So there's lots of stuff to maintain. He continues, I also have more than one external drive, which I rotate, though, through once a month. So I have offline backups. Yes, I recommend that. However, restoring a previous version of a OneDrive file is much better than my once-a-day backup. The reason I do is because I don't trust Microsoft, and I want to have a fallback for the day that I delete a file or folder and don't realize I did it until 93 days, at which time anything I accidentally deleted can no longer be restored from OneDrive recycle bin. Yes, I completely agree, Dom, and that is very good advice. He asked a question that gets a little personal, so I'm not going to answer it from my company. I'm going to answer it generically. And he asked me, after 20 years as a solo act, my brother-in-law has joined me in my business, and we now have our 4 sons working for us. Hey, congratulations, that's awesome. I'm trying to figure out how to pay them. And it occurred to me that since you have 2 sons working for MTS Consulting, you may have some suggestions. Now, actually, I have one that's an employee and one that's an independent contractor. And that's where you might want to think about this. So he's asking, because he's asked his peer group how they determine what they owe their techs and got 0 responses. I didn't realize it was such a sensitive subject. Any tech working for me must submit a weekly Excel spreadsheet that specifically, and I know this is old school, but I don't have a big company. They have to mention every client, and we agreed on how they name the client. So it's, ABC Corp or whatever it is. I want them to be consistent. And they have to put the time they started, the time, and then there are variable rates. And what I recommend is looking at this where there are rates for remote, rates when they're in the office not being paid, rates when they're on site. And then I have a very generous rate for travel where we're billing the client for the travel. So it gets complicated, but there's several rates across doing the work. And, it might be easier to have them get an EIN number and set up a company name, each one of them, because they'll have tax benefits from that, and just 1099 them. Just independent contractor. The thing is, they're going to have to get work with someone else. So it's okay for my one son to do that because he's got other work. He's not just working for me. And it's not every day, and it's just occasional. So you have to look at, are they all full time? And are they all just working for you? And if that's the case, then you're better. I don't like doing payroll. And one of the things that I learned from helping all the clients that I have been involved with, go to ADP. It doesn't even have to be ADP, but go to a payroll service, even if you have one employee. Life becomes much simpler when it comes tax time, when it comes to generate the W-2, the 1099s, when it is so much easier to have a professional payroll company do the work. It is worth it. And it just, when it comes for figuring out the taxes for them, they're doing it. There's a lot of great benefits from working with a payroll service. It's why I have a bookkeeper that takes care of my QuickBooks work. I'm not doing it. I have a bookkeeper that does it because I don't like doing things that I'm not the expert for. I do not change the oil in my car. That's where I take it to I take it to Toyota, my car, my Highlander. So that's what they do. I go with the experts. I don't want to do it. Now, you may enjoy doing that because, hey, you're going to save a bunch of money. You enjoy doing it. You get under, you get rid of the old oil. But hey, if you love doing that, that's great. I don't like cutting my lawn. I have 2 lawn services. I have one for Pennsylvania, one for Florida. So it gets costly. But I don't like pushing a mower. That's not me. What I do well is solve problems. And I realized that this week more than ever. Why the clients love me is because I can solve problems very quickly. I've always been able to. I'm thinking ahead. They're telling me the problem, and I'm thinking 6 steps ahead. That's why I was always good at chess. I haven't played chess in a while, but I'm 10 moves ahead of you, when I'm thinking of something. And I apply that to where when he's done describing everything, I already got 4 things to try. There was a morning this week, Tuesday, because I was home Tuesday. I must have solved 4 problems where they were on the phone for only a couple minutes. And I don't bill them when I'm a couple minutes. But if there's a bunch of them and it starts to add up and it's like, that's a half hour, an hour, I will bill them. But for that quick answer off the top of my head, one was an Excel problem. Another one was a printer problem that I solved very quickly. I'm always thinking, I'm always giving a great answer. And here is a perfect one. Mike, I can't scan. The scanner keeps erroring. I'm trying to access the scan. Scanning is broken. No, it's not. The first thing I do is I bring up my Synchro and I look at all the assets for the client and I see their server is offline. It's a peer server, but I'm not seeing it. That means it's offline. I said, the server's off. Walk over to the server, turn on the monitor, and turn it on. Oh, no, I can't. I said, I got this. I'm 100% sure of the answer. She goes over. She's like, you're right. I don't know how it got turned off, but she turns it on. We wait for it to boot. I said, now scan. Boom, scan. I remoted into her workstation. I said, go to the folder. Let me see it. Boom, done. 5 minutes. Done. But I knew the answer because I'm taking in all the information and then compiling it and coming up with a solution. And I have one client that doesn't like that because sometimes I'm answering how to solve it and he hasn't even finished fully describing the problem. And so we laugh about that, because sometimes we'll butt heads because he's like that and he's trying to think of all the different things. And I said, yeah, but this is what you pay me for. This is what I do. I said, that's why I do it better. So anyway, I just wanted to share that because that was, again, a scanning problem, but really wasn't. A piece of hardware was off. All right. That's it. Hope you got something out of tonight. Remember, send me feedback. I want to know what you're using for tweaking Windows 11. I want to know any other tips and tricks like that I can compile a master list and, do a show dedicated to it. I want to know what is the best ad blockers. What are you using and that you like and it's not annoying and it's not torturing you and it's free. Even if it's not free, if you're paying for it, is it worth it? And how much? But also please include the link. So this way, when I talk about it, I can put that in the show notes. Email me, MikeTechShow@gmail.com. Don't forget, go to MikeNation.net or MikeTechShow.com and it'll flip you there for all of the show notes for everything from every show is right there. All your links, one place. And that's it. Please, there's also a donation button in every week in the show notes. Please, if you can, donate anything, any amount. It helps. It's the best way to support the show. I really, really, really appreciate it. Don't forget, go to the YouTube site, which is Michael Smith MTS, you're going to get the videos. And especially when I'm demonstrating something like tonight, you can go back, you can go to the YouTube, fast forward to the part where I'm demonstrating it on the screen and you can actually see it. That's it. Hope to see you next week. Same time, same channel. Bye-bye.